A poor police officer protected kids on the street, unaware their mother was a billionaire. And from the moment Officer Mason Reed wrapped his worn police jacket around those trembling kids like they were his own, the world was about to witness a heartbreaking truth. A billionaire mother hidden behind power and privilege, and a poor police protector whose loyalty would shake every soul watching. But why were billionaire kids alone on a cold street? But how did a poor police officer become the only shield they had? But what secret could a billionaire mother possibly hide that would make the ending shock everyone? Night drizzle misted down over Ashford City, soft but cold, the kind that crept through thin clothes and sank deep into bones. Patrol lights flickered against puddles as Officer Mason Reed tightened the frayed scarf around his neck. The police jacket he wore had been handed down twice, first from a retiring sergeant, then to Mason when the department couldn't afford new gear. The radio clipped to his chest hissed static, and his boots, and the soles nearly eaten through, swallowed water with every step. He could barely afford rent, barely afford heat, barely afford life, yet here he was, walking a beat few officers wanted. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was forgotten. The kind of street where city cameras flickered out and people acted like nothing existed past the last gleaming business tower. He rubbed his hands together, not from fear, but from cold. His apartment had no heater working tonight, and the thought of going home to it hollowed him. That was when he saw them. Two small figures curled beside a closed bakery storefront, children hugging themselves tight, their little bodies shivering, clothes soaked. Mason's breath caught, not in fear but in something deeper, something that came from memories he didn't like visiting. A younger Mason, a flooded apartment, a father gone, a mother coughing, a teenage boy wrapping his little sister in his only sweater. Cold that hurt, cold that tasted like being forgotten. He moved fast. Hey kiddos. His voice, gentle but firm, cut through the wet silence. I'm Officer Reed. What are you doing out here? Where's your home? The girl lifted her face first. Maybe 8. Blonde hair matted from the rain, cheeks streaked. Beside her, a boy, maybe 6, clung to her hand. Their eyes had a quiet fear, not of him, but of the world. We don't want to go back, the girl whispered. Mason crouched, ignoring the sting in his knees. Back where? The boy sniffed. The big house. The girl nudged him quickly, a silent warning, like they were trained not to speak. Trained to hide something, the big house? Mason asked, confused. Where are your parents? Silence, rain, a trembling lip. We just need somewhere warm, she whispered. In that moment, Mason didn't see two kids, he saw himself. I got you, he murmured, removing his police jacket and wrapping it around them. It swallowed the children, but they relaxed into the warmth. The jacket hugged them like arms Mason wished someone had once wrapped around him. He guided them toward his patrol car. They hesitated. You can trust me, he said softly. The girl looked up, eyes shining with fragile hope. Mom always said, don't trust strangers, especially poor people. The words hit like a fist. Mason froze, and not offended but heart cracked. Poor people. So they came from money, big money maybe, the kind that scorns uniforms like his. It's okay, he whispered. Sometimes strangers help more than people who should care. The kids exchanged a glance. The truth in his voice cut through fear. They stepped forward. Inside the patrol car, little fingers rubbed against the heater vents like they were touching fire for the first time. What are your names? Mason asked gently. The girl hesitated. Something like training flickered in her eyes. A hidden life. Walls built by luxury and rules. Ari, Ariana, and I'm Theo. Pretty names. Rich names. But he didn't judge. Kids didn't choose their world. You're safe now, Mason said. And they believed him. Miles away, a mansion blazed with panic. In silk pajamas and diamond-studded fear, Eleanor Whitmore, billionaire CEO, untouchable power in the city, clutched a photograph of her 2 missing children as security teams scrambled. Helicopters prepped and media calls were blocked. Because the world couldn't know billionaire children were missing, that billionaire protection had failed, and that the poor might be doing what wealth could not. Her voice shook. Find them. No excuses. But fate had already chosen who found them first. Back in the patrol car, Mason dialed child services, then paused. The boy had fallen asleep against his shoulder. The girl's head rested on the fogged window, trusting him more than whoever she fled. Rain tapped the roof like a lullaby. He knew protocol. He knew rules. But he also knew how systems failed kids like these. "You hungry?" he asked quietly. The girl nodded. He turned the ignition. "Then first we get some hot chocolate." Her little voice trembled. "Why are you helping us?" Mason's throat tightened because once someone didn't help me. Outside, city lights blurred. Inside, a bond formed. And somewhere in a penthouse, a billionaire mother paced, unaware her children were finding warmth not in wealth, but in the heart of a poor police officer who had nothing left except kindness. And kindness, tonight, was everything. But why did billionaire kids run from luxury to the streets? But what pain was a billionaire mother hiding? But how would a poor police protector change their lives? And the ending shocked the world. The diner sat like a warm, glowing pocket of life tucked between dark storefronts. A tiny 24-hour place that smelled of cinnamon, coffee, and safety. When Mason pushed open the door, a soft bell chimed and warm air swallowed them whole. Theo's eyes widened at the lights. Ariana inhaled like warmth was something rare, something fragile she might lose if she blinked. "Sit right here," Mason said, guiding them to a booth. He felt the familiar embarrassment of pulling out his wallet, thin like it exhaled dust instead of money. But the kids watched him, trust flickering in their eyes. He couldn't let poverty show its teeth now. Not tonight. The waitress Ruby approached, a grandmother type with tired eyes and sweet patience. "Mason Reed working late again?" she teased. Then her eyes softened at the sight of the kids. "Who are these sweet peas?" Mason forced a neutral tone. Two kids who needed a warm stop. Ruby understood immediately. She'd seen enough pain in life to read between lines without prying. "Hot chocolate and pancakes." Ariana's face lifted, hope glowing. "With whipped cream?" Ruby grinned. "With a mountain of it." As she walked off, Theo tugged on Mason's sleeve. "Why is that lady so nice?" "We don't know her." Mason smiled gently. "Sometimes kindness doesn't need a reason." The boy looked confused. The girl looked wounded by the idea, as if kindness had always come with conditions in her world. While they waited, Mason called dispatch quietly. Found 2 kids on 6th. No IDs, no guardians nearby. He didn't mention that he suspected wealth. That part could complicate things. Trap kids in systems and press headlines before hugs. "We'll send a social worker in the morning." The voice crackled. Mason exhaled. Good. Tonight would be safe. He hung up and caught Ariana watching him. Not fear this time, curiosity. "Are you poor?" she asked suddenly, blunt like only children can be. Mason blinked, then chuckled. "Yeah, but that's okay. Mom says poor people only pretend to be nice." Theo nodded. "She said we can't trust them because they always want something." Mason didn't flinch, though the words cut deep. Their mother wasn't just wealthy, she was shielding them, controlling their worldview. Why? He leaned forward, voice steady. "Do I seem like I want something?" Ariana studied him. "No, sometimes people say things because they're scared. Even rich people." Her brow furrowed. "Rich people don't get scared," he smiled sadly. "Oh, kiddo, everyone gets scared." Something flickered in her eyes, like a secret was pushing at her lips, begging to be told, but she stayed silent. Ruby arrived with plates, steaming pancakes, whipped cream like snowy mountains, chocolate steaming in mugs. Theo attacked his food like hunger was a thief chasing him. Ariana waited and, polite, controlled, then ate in tiny bites like she'd been trained at fancy tables. Mason watched them, pain threading through him. "Kids should eat like the world couldn't end. You 2 have been out long?" he asked softly. Ariana glanced at Theo, then back. "We ran away today." "Why?" Silence. A spoon clinked. Theo's lip trembled, but Ariana shot him that same warning look. "We just didn't want to be at the big house anymore." Fear. Shame. Pain. All hidden under a sentence meant to sound casual. Mason didn't push. "Well, you're safe now," Theo whispered, barely audible. "We didn't think anyone would help. Except maybe someone not in fancy clothes." Mason's chest tightened. So the billionaire world that painted him as unworthy had cracks. Cracks big enough for kids to slip through. Meanwhile, in a mansion lit like a diamond fortress, billionaire mother Eleanor Whitmore stared out a glass wall at the city lights. Security scanned roads. Drones searched rooftops. Guards whispered into earpieces. Her shaking hands clutched a teacup she hadn't sipped from. Makeup streaked faintly, anxiety cracking her polished armor. "They can't be with strangers," she whispered. "They can't." She saw flashes, reporters shoving cameras, business rivals smirking, vultures circling her empire. And one memory. The night she first held Ariana. Tiny fingers, big emotions, promised protection. She swore her children would never feel fear or harm like she did growing up. She failed. Back in the diner, Mason wiped whipped cream from Theo's face, the boy giggling through sticky sweetness. Ariana allowed herself a smile, small, fragile, real. Mason's phone buzzed. A notification breaking. Billionaire Eleanor Whitmore's children missing, authorities silent. His eyes froze. The picture below made his heart stop. Ariana, Theo. The world was searching, and they were here sipping chocolate under his jacket. Ariana noticed the change in him. "Mason, you okay?" He swallowed. Reality crashed in, headlines, consequences, power. "You kids," he whispered softly. "Your mom must be worried sick." Ariana's face twisted. Fear, anger, hurt colliding like lightning. "We don't want to go back." Theo nodded fiercely. "Mom doesn't hug. She only commands." Mason's breath shivered. He saw truth, not rebellion, but heartbreak. Kids born into wealth craving the warmth he gave freely. The bell above the door jingled. 2 men in dark suits entered, scanning. Security on a quiet, expensive, dangerous calm. Ariana gripped his sleeve. "Please, don't show them us." Theo's eyes begged poor police officer. "Billionaire kids." Lines that shouldn't cross. But kindness already had. Mason positioned himself in front of them. The men approached Ruby, showing a photo. She glanced at the booth, hesitated a heartbeat too long. Mason exhaled slowly. This moment would shape everything. But what secret pain drove billionaire children into the streets? But why did a mother with everything lose what mattered most? But how could a poor police protector stand between wealth, power, and truth? And what ending would shake the world when their lives finally collided? Mason's pulse thudded in his ears as the men in suits scanned the diner. Their posture was rigid, predatory, like wolves in tailored wool. Their eyes swept from table to table with the quiet intensity of people trained to retrieve, not negotiate. Ariana's small hand dug into his sleeve. Theo pressed against his side, trembling. Trust, fear, innocence. 2 kids who should have been asleep in warm beds, not hiding behind a police officer with a paycheck too thin to afford dignity. Ruby's voice floated across the diner, falsely casual. "Haven't seen him, gentlemen." Her wrinkle-soft eyes flicked toward Mason, just for a split second. She had lied for the kids. For him, but the men weren't convinced. The taller one adjusted his wrist mic, voice barely a whisper. They might be nearby. "Spread 2 blocks." The other nodded and turned toward the booth area. Step by step, he moved closer. Mason's mind ran faster than his heartbeat. If they saw the kids, they would be gone in seconds. No chance to ask why they ran. No chance to protect. He leaned close to Ariana and Theo, whispering so low even anxiety had to strain to hear. "Under the table, now." Ariana didn't hesitate. Fear had already trained her to obey danger's voice. Theo scrambled after her, tiny shoes tapping panic beneath the booth. Mason slid the jacket to cover the edge, shielding them. As the agent approached, Mason stood, blocking the booth entirely, posture relaxed but ready. "Evening, officers," Mason said with a polite nod, pretending ignorance. "Private security," the man replied, flashing a badge from Whitmore Holdings. "We're searching for 2 minors." Mason feigned confusion. "Runaways?" "Missing," the man corrected sharply. "And no one is to interfere." The unspoken threat hung heavy, thick enough to taste. Wealth didn't need violence, power spoke quietly and people obeyed loudly. Mason smiled calmly. Inside, his pulse punched ribs. "Hope you find them safe." The agent studied him, slow, assessing. Mason didn't shift, didn't flinch, didn't blink. Finally, the men turned and exited the diner, boots echoing like thunder retreating. Only when the door shut did Mason kneel, lifting the jacket. 2 wide sets of eyes stared back, frightened, hopeful, trusting. "You're safe," he whispered. Ariana climbed back up, pushing tears away with the back of her hand like she'd been taught not to show weakness. We don't want to go back. Please don't let them take us. Mason's heart twisted. This wasn't about spoiled kids running away from privilege. This was about love missing in a mansion and found in a diner booth. He swallowed. Tell me the truth. Why did you run? Ariana hesitated. Theo curled against her like she was his shield, not the billionaire walls they'd fled. Our mom, Ariana whispered. She protects the company more than us, Theo added in a tiny voice. We're lonely. A silence thick as sorrow fell. Riches without warmth. Wealth without touch. Protection without love. Mason exhaled slowly. Your mom loves you, just maybe in a different way. Ariana shook her head, a movement too old for a child. Love isn't commands, he felt that. Deep, personal, raw. His mother had loved fiercely, even when life broke her. A memory cracked inside him. A teen Mason holding his baby sister in a tiny apartment with peeling paint. Their mother coughing herself weak but still pulling them close, whispering, I have nothing but I love you with everything. The world had not been kind to them, but love had been real. He looked at the kids, voice soft. I won't let anything hurt you. But running forever isn't the answer. We need to talk to her. Ariana's eyes shimmered with betrayal. You'll send us back? No. The word left like a vow carved in stone. Not until you're ready, Theo sniffed. Can we stay with you? Mason froze. Stay with him. In his tiny apartment where warmth was a privilege and the only luxury was honesty. He wanted to say yes. But reality pressed hard. Laws, systems, class, power. He knelt again, looking them eye to eye. You will not be alone tonight. I promise. Their shoulders relaxed, belief stronger than fear. Suddenly, headlights flashed outside. A sleek black SUV rolled by slow, hunting, scanning. Ariana stiffened. We have to go, Mason nodded. Come on. We leave quietly. He paid the bill, sliding his last crumpled bills across the counter. Ruby touched his hand gently. Good men are rare, Mason Reed. Don't let them dim your heart. Warmth spread through his chest. Hope in a tired diner apron. He dipped his head. Thank you. Then he led the kids out the back door into the cold city night. Meanwhile, in the Whitmore mansion, Eleanor Whitmore stood alone in her vast glass office. The city glittered beneath her like jewels she owned but could not feel. Power at her fingertips but her children gone. Her voice cracked into the emptiness. Where are you? Why did you leave me? A memory stabbed. Her own childhood hiding in corners while parents hosted investors. Love always secondary. Her fear had built walls. Those walls now kept out the only heart she truly needed. A tear slipped, rare, expensive, like everything in her world. No one will take them from me, she whispered, but she did not yet know. It wasn't danger that took them. It was emptiness, and a poor officer's warmth had filled what billions could not. Back in the streets, Mason wrapped his jacket around the kids again. Streetlights flickered. A siren wailed far away. The night held secrets and choices. Ariana's voice floated softly. What happens now? Mason gazed down at them, determination like fire in his chest. Now I protect you, no matter what power comes, no matter who tries to take you. The wind whispered fate. Their worlds were colliding. Quiet compassion versus loud wealth. And the ending promised more than reunion. It promised revelation, redemption, truth. But what truth about billionaire motherhood would surface? But how far would power go to reclaim children love barely touched? But when the poor police protector stood between wealth, love, and fear, who would the world side with? And what ending would shake every heart watching? Cold wind chased them down narrow back streets as Mason led Ariana and Theo toward his apartment. The city felt divided. One side skyscrapers shimmering with billionaire power, the other dim streets full of forgotten souls and worn footsteps like Mason's. Ariana clutched his hand. Theo held his jacket like it was armor. Mason's shoulders carried the weight of worlds. Rich, poor, law, heart. They reached his building. Old brick, stairs creaking, heater coughing instead of working. Shame whispered through him as he unlocked the door. This is home, Mason said softly. It's not fancy, but... Before he finished, Theo bolted inside and touched everything with wonder, as if freedom lived in chipped paint and cozy clutter. Ariana followed, tracing her fingers over family pictures on a small wall shelf. Who is this? She asked, pointing at a girl smiling in graduation cap and gown. My sister, he replied, voice warming. She fought hard to finish school. I helped raise her. Ariana's eyes lingered on the picture. She looks loved. Mason swallowed hard. She was. Still is. Theo ran up with a blanket he'd found. This place feels like hugs. Mason laughed, but it broke inside him too. Because kids shouldn't crave hugs like hunger. He microwaved soup, poured juice, turned on soft lights. The kids sat on the couch like they were in church, reverent, safe, hesitant to exhale their relief too loudly. Ariana finally spoke. Is this what normal feels like? He sat across from them. This is what home feels like. Their eyes shimmered with something priceless. Peace. Hours later, knocks thundered like judgment. 3 sharp strikes, then a pause. Another 3, harder. Ariana flinched. Theo hid behind Mason. Mason's heartbeat tightened. He opened the door. There she stood, Eleanor Whitmore. Billionaire. Power carved into posture, grief haunting her elegant face like shadows clinging to diamonds. Security guards flanked her, but she stepped forward alone. Mother first, empire second. When Ariana and Theo peeked from behind Mason, Eleanor inhaled like her heart touched fire. My babies, but they didn't run to her. They didn't move. Ariana's voice shook. Why are you here? Eleanor froze like a queen not used to begging. I've been searching everywhere. You must be terrified. Theo's whisper cracked the night. We were only terrified at home. Silence collapsed around them. Security eyes widened. Eleanor flinched like truth slapped harder than poverty ever could. Mason stepped slightly in front of them. Not blocking, but shielding. They're safe, he said calmly. Eleanor's eyes filled, not with anger but confusion and ache. You took them? No, Mason replied quietly. They came to the streets. I found them cold, alone, scared. Ariana lifted her chin, tiny royalty with wounded pride. We ran because your love feels like rules, like walls, Theo whispered. We just wanted hugs. Eleanor's knees nearly buckled. Billionaire power looked flimsy against children's honesty. I protected you, she choked. I gave you everything. Ariana shook her head, tears sliding. You gave us walls. Money isn't hugs. Eleanor's mascara streaked, expensive weakness, raw and human. I didn't know, she breathed. I never learned how. My parents, she stopped. Trauma unspoken. Pain inherited. Love unlearned, Mason spoke gently. Sometimes the strongest walls are built around the softest hearts. Eleanor looked at him, truly looked, and saw not a poor officer, but a man holding what she couldn't buy. Safety through tenderness, what did you do for them? She whispered. Mason shrugged softly. Listened. Held space. Let them be kids, power bowed to humility in that moment. Eleanor turned to her children, voice trembling. I don't want to lose you. Tell me how to love you better. Ariana and Theo exchanged glances. Pain softened, only slightly. Hope dared to breathe. Theo stepped forward first. Can we come here sometimes? Where love feels warm? Eleanor's chin trembled. If Officer Reed allows it. Yes. Ariana stepped closer too. And you try hugs? Eleanor nodded, broken, rebuilt, humbled. Teach me. Ariana walked to her slowly, hesitating, then hugging her waist. Theo joined. Eleanor folded arms around them. Awkward, trying, real. Mason felt his throat tighten. Pain healing, walls falling. A billionaire mother learning softness from the poor police officer who protected what money couldn't. Eleanor lifted her gaze to Mason. You changed everything for us. I just did. What anyone should, he said. She shook her head gently. No, many would have returned them for reward or recognition. You gave them dignity instead. Then she offered something unexpected. Respect. If you ever need anything, Mason raised a hand. Just promise you'll give them what I can't. What's that? She asked softly. He smiled, tired but full. A life without loneliness. Eleanor nodded solemnly. And they will have it. Outside, dawn bled into the city, gold touching concrete and glass alike. Ariana and Theo waved as they left with Eleanor. Eyes still warm, heart still tethered to the poor police protector who filled their emptiness. Before entering the car, Ariana ran back, hugging Mason fast and fierce. Thank you for giving us love, Theo echoed. We'll come visit. Promise. They climbed in. The SUV pulled away. Mason stood alone in the morning light, tired, cold, broke, and whole. He whispered to the quiet sky, "They'll be okay." In a mansion across town, breakfast would no longer taste like silence. Hugs would become currency. Love would grow where fear once ruled. Because sometimes the poorest hearts give the richest gifts, and sometimes billionaire walls fall to a single warm jacket and a night of honest care. The world would talk about the ending. Not scandal, but transformation. A poor police protector who showed that wealth doesn't raise children, love does. And in two young hearts he would forever be the hero who wrapped them in warmth when the world of privilege left them cold.